Alright, so this is our gas cylinder and all the bits that we need to put the gas system in place.
If you're new to this channel, we're James and Sarah, also known as The Whole World or Nothing.
We used to be full-time backpackers, exploring the world and writing about our travels in our blog.
And then the world changed.
We got repatriated from Peru and found ourselves back in the UK at a loose end. So we decided to do a van conversion.
Make sure you hit subscribe now so you can join us in this series as we share the highs and many lows of converting an old Mercedes Sprinter panel van into our dream home on wheels.
We actually went to pick up our gas tank and kit rather than get it delivered because we wanted to double check that it would fit in the location that we'd chosen to place it, which was at the back of the van just in front of the spare wheel. So they kindly lifted up the van and made sure the space was suitable for the tank we were after.
They were really good, weren't they?
They were really good. It's a place called Autogas 2000,
Yeah.
I think.
In North Yorkshire.
It's in North Yorkshire, which is actually quite local to where we are, so it's about 45 minutes away, which was handy. So we went up there and actually saw them, had a chat, which we'd really recommend doing actually if you're going to buy anything from them, because they've talked us through the whole kit, talked us through how to do everything, to get it installed and to get it working.
Just the whole process from start to finish.
Yeah, the whole
wasn't it?
process. And then they've also said that we can go back to get it tested and do our first fill and stuff like that. So it's filled us with a load of confidence to do it, because actually we were initially a little bit worried about doing it because, well, it's gas. But
we've got some written instructions there as well. That's
yeah,
what
we've
Jay's
got a
in his
folder
hand.
full of them. And also they said that, just give them a call or send them an email if we get stuck or have any other questions. So we're pretty confident about this.
Yeah,
Yeah?
we're going to smash it.
Yes.
First things first, we laid out the whole kit to check everything was there and correct, and then Sarah did her usual detailed explanation of everything.
Okay, so just to talk you through what we have actually got here in this gas kit system. So we've got a pretty massive gas tank. This is just what was the best size for the place that we're putting it underneath the van. So this is a 270mm diameter tank, and it is 40 litre. We've then got the hoop brackets that it'll be fixed onto the bottom of the van with, that comes with these rubber strips basically that go in between the bracket and the tank to stop it rubbing and damaging the tank at all. Then we've got the regulator and the pigtail. So this is what comes off one side of the tank, and this is the thing that puts the gas from a really high pressure that's in the tank to a lower pressure to 30 millibars that we will be using for the cooker and the water heater. On the other side of the tank is going to be the fill pipe, so that will come off. We've gone for a sill mount filler, so basically this is it, and it'll just be mounted onto the sill of the van. That's just the kit that goes with it. We have got an electrical sender, basically that just tells us how full the tank is, so this will run into the van so we can see that inside. We've got clips for stuff in terms of fastening all the filler hose and the pigtail on. This is our plastic coated 8mm copper pipe, so that will run off the regulator and up into the van, where we are going to have a double manifold isolation valve, I think it's called, something like that anyway, basically so that you can turn the gas off to each appliance that we will have. These are the connectors that go between the copper pipe and the cooker and the water heater, and that's just the bolts that are for the hoop brackets. And then in here, which is for later, much later, we've got all the different adapters that we need for various fill points in Europe, because they're not all the same at different LPG stations as they are in the UK. That's it. Just got to put it all together. The first step was to hang the brackets.
These grooves that go along pretty much dictate where it can go, and it fits perfectly. Like, there's probably a mil or two on the side, and the same from the back to the front as well, so it's quite handy to use as a guide. So we'll get the other one measured up and get those drilled.
First hole going in. So just in the back of the van then, they are in pretty much a perfect position. We've got the 4 pilot holes. So there's one there, one there, one there, and one there.
Next step then is to drill a 70mm hole through the top of the floor. We've got to be really careful because we don't want to go through the metal at the bottom of the van. We've got to just go through the lino, the plywood and the insulation, and then stop.
Yeah.
First one's out then. How are you
Yes.
feeling? How
Good.
was it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I said this morning though, right, that basically what we're doing is drilling 4 holes and screwing some brackets on. We don't need to complicate it any further than that. You know, you can get really scared and worried and whatever about drilling holes in your van and doing a big installation like this, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. 4 holes, put the tank on. I'm not saying that it is, you know, the E word, but it should be straightforward, so there's no need to overcomplicate things. I'll show you how it looks. So that is the 3 layers that we've cut out, the lino, the plywood and also the insulation, and that's the hole that's going through to the bottom, which we're going to have to enlarge to get the M10 bolt in. And we have got a plate as well that goes on top of there to hold it in place, which you just slot in like that, and that's the reason why the hole has to be so large, so that it can fit that in.
And that has to go on the van metal, you can't put that on the top of your floor.
Yeah, we did wonder about that because obviously we were trying to avoid cutting such a large hole in the floor, 4 large holes like that, but we spoke directly to the supplier and they said absolutely you can't put it on top of the floor, which is different to some of the ones that we've seen, isn't it?
Yeah.
On other videos.
It must be different with different tanks and stuff, but the one we have, this is the way to do it. The thing with this insulation is that the foil bit, the foil backing that's on both sides of it is actually quite difficult to cut through on the bottom bit. So even when you've got it through the insulation, you really risk going through the metal if you're trying to cut that, so that's why we're getting it out this way with the Stanley knife and just kind of chopping it out. It just feels a lot safer than getting far too close to the metal. So now those 4 holes are all in, we're going to just drill a 10mm hole through, right? Because we just put a small pilot hole through and the 10mm bolts that are going through.
Exactly, yeah. So we've got to widen that hole in the actual van floor up.
A lot of people put their tanks on before laying their floor so as not to have these holes. And while we didn't plan it this way, it means that if anything does go wrong with the tank, we'll always have access to it without having to take the whole floor up. If you've watched our video from when we put our floor in as well, you will know that we have wooden battens underneath the floor, and it's just absolute pure luck, to be honest, that we haven't gone through any of them. Not that it really would have mattered, but I guess it's just better that we didn't. So yeah, it's just straight through the insulation on those 4 holes. A little bit of van luck there.
Alright, we're going to put the brackets on. So we are putting on...
Is that your real... Where's your neck gone?
my neck! Why? What's wrong with it? It's because my hair's all tucked around keeping me warm.
Oh, right.
I like to wrap it around like a little scarf.
Okay. It's long enough, isn't it?
Okay, so bolt, washer, bracket, that goes through the floor, and then on your side putting on a washer and a nut. So that's what it'll look like with the floor in between there. They are all fixed in from the top. nice and tightened up. See what's happening underneath. Is it looking good?
It's looking good. They're on pretty solid. This is how we're looking from underneath. You can see the bolts coming through there, and these are the nuts that we've just screwed on with a washer, and the other one is exactly the same. So what we've got to do now is try and slip the gas tank in there somehow.
Because we want to be able to see how full the tank is, or how empty it is rather, from inside the van, we're replacing this little manual gauge with the electronic one. We've just taken this out and we're just screwing the new one in.
Yeah, we'll probably get the gas tank in today, hopefully, and then do the rest tomorrow, I think. Alright then, mate, thanks for that. Take care, bye.
All sorted?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, well, it's as we thought. Basically, you can't turn the actual this bit.
Not.
You have to turn the elbow.
Right, okay.
So put it on there. He said it's going to be really, really tight. He said watch your front teeth because they might come out
Oh god.
if it slips off. Turn it round.
Yeah.
We've done it all right.
Yeah.
Turn it round until you can get the filler hose onto it.
Right.
And as soon as you can do that, that's far enough.
Right.
And that's all right.
Okay.
So let's try it.
All right. So we just had to call John back again, didn't we?
We did. We got a little bit stuck because the angle that this was at, the filler pipe meant that this cover wouldn't actually go on because it was kind of sat a bit proud of this part of the whatever it is. Oh, I'm so,
The box
I'm
cover.
exhausted already. So basically, you just have to keep turning this elbow until it does fit.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that that's what you should do, because I thought that this was probably meant to be at 90 degrees at you know, an angle that makes sense. But shall we try it, see if it goes on?
Yeah.
Still not sure it's going to go on.
Maybe it needs turning a bit more then.
It might need turning a bit more. Yep, it needs turning a bit more.
So we've done it.
It's on.
We've done that bit.
We've done that little bit.
Alright, so we've got the fill hose on, that's that one. And we've got the steel pigtail on, which is this one that will go to the regulator. The electronic sender is in. We're going to leave that just as it is for now and wire that later. So yeah, we can put the cover on. The net's coming off.
The net is off. That means business. Okay. Plastic cover off. Shall we slide it under?
We put the tank under the van, talked up the rubber strips to allow them to slip on easily, and then began an almighty fight to get the tank into position. Most of this we can't actually show because it involved lots and lots of swearing, but suffice to say it took a very long time and multiple attempts.
Go on, what's the new plan?
So the new plan is this should now just stay on my chest. It shouldn't be able to fall anywhere
Okay.
because I've wedged it in. Right.
Yeah.
So then I can barely breathe actually. So now when we untighten these nuts, it shouldn't drop.
Right.
We should just be able to twist it round so that we get the angle of this thing a little bit closer to what it should be, which is 105 degrees. And then hopefully that'll mean that I've got a free hand, or two free hands, so I can screw one up if needs be, or you know, meddle around with it or whatever we need to do, and you can do the other side.
Okay, great. Because
So
it's in, isn't it? It's just not the
it's
right
in.
angle.
Yeah, exactly. All we need to do is just try and swivel it round a bit and make sure that these plastic straps that are going between the rubber straps that go between the tank and the bracket to protect the tank are actually in the correct place. So it just needs a little bit of tweaking. It's there,
Yeah.
but we need to tweak it.
The problem is when you tweak it, the rubber straps come out.
That is a problem. You were right though, they should just have the straps attached to the actual metal brackets.
Yeah.
Why don't they do that? Why don't we do that? Why don't we glue them in?
I don't know, because that wasn't what the instructions said. Okay, we have been under the van for, I don't know, hours. How long would you say?
About 2.5, 3 hours.
We finally think we've got it on. Hopefully.
I think we've got it on. We have got it on. It's on.
No, but I mean that it's on and in the right place.
Yeah, it's just the angle that we're not 100% sure about, but there's not really a way of checking it. So we're going to have to wait until we go back to the gas place, and they said that they'd check it for us.
So this is the fill point stuff that we're going to put on first. The mounting bracket, the fill point and the protective box that goes over the top. We put our filler pipe so that the angled end of it was going into the tank, because when we were doing that it felt like that is what fitted best. However, we think it might be better the other way round actually, so we're just going to take it off and switch it round and put the straight end onto the tank so that we can see if that actually works better the other way round.
It worked much better the other way round and would have solved all of the issues we had with not being able to fit the lid on as well. It also would have been a hell of a lot easier to realise that at the time.
The fill point was really easy to attach to the sill using just 2 bolts, and then we clipped the pipe to the underside of the van.
Just look at the camera. Have you scratched your bum and then wipe your top lip?
What's happening?
It looks like you've got a poo stash.
Okay.
And that is it. We can now fill our tank if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Just couldn't do anything with the gas.
On to putting the pigtail and the regulator in now, so we're just double checking the instructions, make sure we know what we're doing. Figured it out?
I don't think we have that many options. I think it's just going to have to go here, and obviously the copper pipe that we're putting on is going to come out of here, so it's going to have to curve all the way around. But the problem is that situating it like that, there's not enough space to actually screw it on, because the cross member isn't wide enough for this to sit on. So it has to be at a diagonal or straight on. So obviously, the more straight on it is, facing the front, the further round this is going to have to, the copper pipe is going to have to curve.
Right.
So if we just put it on as much of an angle as possible, where we can still actually screw it to the cross member, then that's about as best we can do, and then just curve the pipe round accordingly.
We are putting a double manifold isolator valve in our garage, so that's going to come up, so it provides an isolation point for the 2 appliances that will be running off our gas system, which is our cooker and the water heater. So that's going to come up through the van floor into the bottom of that, and the top one will run out into our water heater, which is literally just right at the side of it, and then the bottom one is going to come back down under the van, and the copper pipe will run underneath the van right to the front of the van, which is where our cooker is. Our copper pipe is 8mm. It's plastic coated, which is what we need because most of it is going to be running outside of the vehicle. And we've just worked out, what did you say, 10.5 for the hole?
5mm holes, yeah.
Yeah, just make sure it can go through, gives that 0.5 mil.
It's quite a snug fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the space for it to actually fit through.
Yeah, the thing is, because the pipe's curled round, we have to straighten it out first as well. Alright, still in a hole. Alright, so we're pretty sure we've actually just drilled through into the cavity of the van, which isn't too much of a problem, like into this panel here. It doesn't go outside, so it doesn't really matter, although it's not ideal. So we're going to try and drill from the underside of the van now, and hopefully that comes up in an appropriate area at the top. It's through. we've got our 2 holes here that the copper pipe is going to be going into and coming back out of. So we're going to just start feeding that through now. Okay, got our pipes coming up. Obviously need to cut that one off a bit. And we're just going to put the manifold valves on there. This is such a fiddly-faffy job, but we're getting there. So we've just got the pipe, the copper pipe round from where it comes through underneath the back corner of the vehicle, got it run along here, and we're just working at bending it to get it into the regulator. Just got to take a little bit of the plastic out a bit off the copper pipe for it to go into the olive for the regulator. Happy with it?
Who knows? It's the best that I can do. It's on and it's tight and it's, you know, not coming out.
There we go.
Not much more we can do than that.
I think these things seem way more complicated than they are.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Well, it's just popping a pipe on and screwing it round, isn't it?
It says from behind the camera.
Hopefully you can see. It's quite difficult to film underneath the van, but that's where it's coming out from inside the van, running along there, up and over there, and then down there and into the regulator. Can you see where it is? Or feel where it is?
I can feel it. It's right up to this edge. There's probably about less than 2 fingers distance between the edge of the dropout and the edge of this, the inside edge of this cupboard.
Okay.
But we've got probably about 5 centimetres to play with behind the dropout towards the side of the van.
Okay, which is where we want it to go.
So that's where we need it to go, really.
Fingers crossed. It pops out in the right place. Okay. We push the oven pipe through the hole before running it back to the rear of the van, up through its hole and into the manifold. Alright, so I've figured out the best place for this hole to be for the cables to come up from the sender on the gas cylinder. So it's going to be here because I can run the cabling up there, around there. One of the cables, 2 of the cables has got to go out that way to the display anyway, and then the other's got to come back here to the electrical system, to the leisure batteries. So yeah, I've measured it and you've checked it.
I have.
So hopefully it's going to go through in the right place.
Well, I can guarantee it's not going to go through into the skirt this time.
And it's not going to go through into the gas cylinder.
Well, let's hope not.
So I've got the 2 cables extended, just put some connectors on. So the green one is the signal, the black one is the negative. So that's coming off the sender that's inside here that measures the fill that's in the tank. So they're on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push those inside the metal box so that the connections are a little bit more protected. So I've left myself enough cable. Well, I've actually not cut it off yet, it's still on the roll up in the van. I've left myself enough so that I can bring the cables up here. They're going to be pinned along there and then they're going to go up through the floor. We haven't got any of the, I forgot what it's called, like the cable protector.
Cloth tape.
No, not the cloth tape, the plastic one, like the D-line stuff.
Trunking.
The trunking, yeah, the sleeving. So we've ordered some of that, so that will be around this, that will protect it. And it's gonna, there's another cable here that's, I think it's for the light, so that's gonna run alongside that. And I'll put a bit of that cloth tape on the ends as well to make sure it's nice and nice and tidy. We have got a little bit of the sleeving left, so there's enough that's just on protecting the metal bit through the floor. So I think we're going to be alright to just cable tie it up until that comes. And then I'll put that on afterwards. If you can see up there, that's where I've just tucked the excess of the cables coming from the sender that's got the connection on, and then that comes out through the end here where the steel pigtail is. So I've just ran that round and just cable tied it. I think you can see up there, just temporarily, and round here same, just popped a couple of cable ties on. That's the electrical cable that I was saying that's already existing on the van, so I've just ran it alongside that, just cable tied it to that for the time being. So it runs along there, and up into the van over there. So all of this cable I'm going to protect with the sleeving when we get that. Now it says the negative for the black cable for the sender should be put onto a ground on the chassis, but we're not using a ground on the chassis for our leisure system. Well, it's not a ground anyway, but we're not using the van body as a negative. So I've brought both cables into there. So this is the one off the indicator and this is the one off the sender, and then they're both coming back through to the battery through the other black cable. So I'm hoping that's correct. The instructions just said to wire it in line with your van electronics, and that's what I've done. So we'll see how it goes. I can't actually test it because the lowest amp I've got is a 2 amp one and I need a 0.5 amp, so we're gonna have to wait to do that. Morning, 7 AM, out at the van. Got to try and get the electrics done for the oven as soon as possible because England is going back into lockdown on Thursday, so we really need to get our gas system tested before then. So hopefully the guys at Autogas have got a space, which is why we want to be ready to go at 9 AM. When they open, we're going to call them then. Hopefully we can get up there today, if not, like I say, before Thursday. Right, these are the cables for the ignition for the cooker. So it's not a complicated job at all, just need to extend those back to the leisure battery system at the back of the van, and then need to just bring the oven into place and get it screwed onto the gas pipe. So we've just done a snake with this 8mm piping at the back so that it just gives a bit of play, so that if we do need to pull the cooker out at all to check anything, we can do so very easily. Make sure the black goes on the black and the red on the red, yeah?
I'll try my best. I think they're in.
Go on then, push it in.
Sweet as a nut. Right, all we need to do now is fire some screws in into these holes.
We hot-footed it up to Autogas 2000 to get the whole thing checked over, but after an encouraging initial assessment,
Hey, nothing so bad.
it quickly went downhill.
That's not good.
That's not good.
How fast that's going down.
Big bubbles.
Oh mate, what have you done?
After pulling the cooker out and spraying it with a special testing fluid, it quickly became apparent that we hadn't screwed the connectors on tight enough. So a couple of nips with a spanner, and all that was left to do was spray the tank with a protective, chip-proof coating.
So that's that then.
That is that. This is the happiest that I've been about this van for quite a long while. That feels like a huge achievement to me.
Well, it should do. We just installed the bloody gas system, man.
We installed the gas system and it works.
It's
Yeah.
not broken, it's not leaking.
3/4 of a
It
mile.
actually just works. So I was concerned about it, I'm not going to lie.
But more than that, he said it was good. We just had a couple of little leaks where we hadn't tightened something enough, but he said that it's better that you left it looser rather than tightening it too much and damaging the olive.
Exactly.
So he nipped it and that was fine.
Yeah. So we're all sorted. We can cook, we can get hot water. Well, we can't because we haven't got the water tanks in yet, but once
Yeah.
we get the water tanks in, we can cook, we can get hot water,
Yeah.
and we've got all of our appliances and everything installed. We're nearly there.
There was just one other recommendation, and that was to put a gas dropout next to the water heater, and we also installed a carbon monoxide detector too.
Well, that's it for this week, friends. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button and drop us a comment down below. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed it, then you should probably subscribe and hit that little alarm bell whilst you're at it too, so you get notified every time we post a new video. Next week, we're going to be getting started on our bathroom. It's coming together, guys. It is coming together. Catch you then.